Osvaldo Manuel Bazán was a 10-time Cordoba province chess champion. He won in 61, 62, 63, 64. That's 4 years in a row. He also won in 69, 71, 73, 76, 81, and 86. So that's 25 years of chess dominance in the Cordoba province. Osvaldo Bazán. He starts this game with Retti's opening, named for Richard Reti. Bobby with knight f6. c4 transposes to the Anglo-Indian defense. e6, knight c3, d5. Now d4 transposes to a queen's gambit declined. Rogozin's variation, or Rogozin's defense, technically. That's named for Vyacheslav Rogozin, who lived from October 1908 to March 1962. Rogozin was a Soviet chess player, writer, and editor. He was a world champion, by the way. Did you know that Vyacheslav Rogozin was world champion of correspondence chess? He held the Grandmaster title both for correspondence and over-the-board chess. Rogozin's defense is the tabia on the board at present. Well, bishop b4, maybe I misplayed it. Bishop b4 is the Rogozin move. Bishop b4 is Rogozin's defense. C takes d5, e takes d5, bishop g5, pinning the knight, h6, bishop h4, maintaining the pin, c5, e3, now knight c6, which is not the usual move. Normally c4 is played here. That's answered by bishop e2, g5, bishop g3, knight e4, rook c1 defending the knight, queen a5 adding another attacker, knight e5, knight c6, castles, bishop takes the knight on c3, pawn takes the bishop, and castles. That is the most common line. Bobby playing knight c6 here on move 8. Now bishop e2, and the bot says capture the pawn. And rook c1 will certainly follow. For example, if we castle, rook c1. Bishop e2 from Bazán. g5 hits the bishop, bishop g3, knight e4, and rook c1 here, just like the book line or the main line that I showed. Queen a5, okay, c4, avoiding the trade. Queen a5, both players following the main ideas of the line I showed earlier. He castled, bishop takes the knight, pawn takes the bishop, and here knight takes the pawn, hitting the queen, and the queen moves to e1. Knight takes the bishop, check, queen takes the knight, and now c4 is played, and this is a passed pawn. e4, wanting to open this line as quickly as possible, but the bot calling for knight e5. Because after knight takes knight, bishop takes knight, and you're not going to castle. No, you can't castle because f4. You can't castle. I mean, you can castle, but he's playing f4 if you do. So you'd have to play rook g8. Do not castle here. It's not as good as it looks. Boom. But e4 was played by Bazán, certainly understandable. Bishop e6, quite an interesting move. I would think knight e5 can still be played here. Now, note the queen defends this pawn if you have these ideas of pawn takes pawn. Here, bishop c7 was played. Wow. And the idea is to decoy the queen away so that pawn takes pawn wins this bishop. Knight e5 certainly is still a move. What did the bot call for? Knight d2. What's it think of knight e5? It gives me a check mark. We're not going to take this, or are we? We take, he takes. It's an equal trade because, oh, Bobby did take it. Bobby actually did take it. Well, this discovers the pin and simultaneously attacks the pinned piece. So he's getting his material back. But now g4 from Bobby Fischer, hitting the knight. And I think knight e5 is still playable here. He played knight d2. The bot does agree, knight e5. And on knight takes knight, white will not take the knight, he'll take the bishop still. We retreat knight to g6, rook takes the pawn, hitting the queen, Queen will come to d6. Pawn takes pawn, check. King takes pawn. Queen takes pawn. In the eval bar says I'm Jim Dandy, but white still has a lot of fight here because he's compensated for this knight with 2 pawns. Coming back, Bazán with knight d2. Knight takes d4, hits the queen. The queen comes to e4. Queen e3 probably is just as good, although queen f4 is juicy, isn't it? Ooh, double exclam. My second double exclam of the day, ladles and jelly spoons. And the point is, if you take the queen, knight e2, right? You take my queen, knight e2 check. King has to come here, and then I'm picking back up my material. Coming back, if instead you play rook e1, defending the queen, I'm going to take the queen, I should say defending the e2 square. Yeah, you should actually take this with the pawn, hit the knight, get it out of there. And this is still hot, and this is still hot. That's going to be the better choice. Now, do not, here after queen f4, do not take the bishop here. Look at the eval bar. Oh my goodness. Now queen takes the queen. You can give a Zwischenzug. Pawn takes pawn check. But you do not dare take this pawn, do you? Because of the discovered attack. So as long as you play the king up here, connect your rooks, you should be fine. Not king takes pawn. And look at that eval bar. Swing back down. And after you get out of check, you lose your knight. Note, come back to king e7. You could also play king f8 if you're worried about a skewer on the e file. But the reason I like king e7 is to connect the rooks. He's going to take this already. Here, though, I get the check and this fork here. And then I can even see if he'll simplify. He can't take this with the knight because of b5. Now I'm just cleanly winning this, aren't I? Coming back, after queen e4, Bobby played queen f4 anyway. He played it, and he got a double exclam too, obviously. Bazán with rook takes the c-man, and queen takes queen. Do not play queen takes knight. Yes, it's undefended, but so's your knight. Your knight's under super attack. So his knight is undefended, your knight is under-defended, and the only difference between an undefended piece and an under-defended piece is the der in the middle. So don't play queen takes the knight, because he's capturing this knight and hitting your queen to boot, and this is still at large. Well, it's marked in it. Oh, it changed its mind. Probably take this pawn. It's equal, but the eval bar is in white's favor barely. So anyway, after rook takes c4, we're not going to play the queen takes knight. We're going to play queen takes the queen. Knight takes the queen. Knight e2 is check. King h1 is forced. Now bishop d7, and that is marked as a mistake. f5. f5 is best. And bishop d7 can come later, perhaps. Well, actually, just take the bishop if you're white. I'll take your knight. You can have my pawn. That hits my knight. I'll move my knight to c3. Hit your rook. Coming back, one thing you definitely don't want to try is this counterattack b5. Because rook c2 and you still have 2 pieces on pieces. So knight d4, but rook d2 and you've run out of attacks. After king h1, Bobby played bishop d7. Rook e1, king f8. I still like king e7. We just want to avoid this check here with knight d6. I think he wanted to get out of the rook's line of fire, so he played king f8. But that's marked inaccurate with king e7 preferred, because we want to connect these rooks and get one of them on the c8 square. King f8 was played, knight f6. So he should have played knight d6 anyway. So that discovers an attack by the rook on the g-man, although the bishop's eyeballing it, so maybe it's not really a legit. But it also discovers control of the f4 square, keeping the knight from escaping. That's the more important discovery, which knight f6 does as well. But this move prevents rook e8. Well, I guess technically knight f6 does that as well. By the way, do not play rook takes knight here, because that allows a skewer. Note the piece relationship. Let's mark those in blue. And that would just be winning. You can get rook d8 hitting the passed pawn, but he can defend with his knight. Okay. He played knight f6, hitting the bishop. Bishop b5 hits the rook. Rook b4 hits the bishop. Bishop a6. Now knight d7 is check. King e7 at last. Knight c5 threatening to remove the defender. So rook h e8 potentially defending, but knight takes the bishop, seeking knight c7. So king d6 prevents that. And now knight g3 would be a winning move. It's check and a discovered attack. Note that you don't want to play pawn takes knight here and allow rook takes knight. After king d6, rook takes rook, rook takes rook, g3, and white's out of trouble. So king d6, rook takes b7. So rook f1 being called for. I thought rook a1. The point is we want to avoid the discovered attack. If you allow this discovered attack, it's just over. But I thought rook a1, I do get a star here. And after pawn takes, rook takes the g-man, and rook e5, I'm winning either way. So it doesn't really much matter what he does. But this is just wrong. This is just wrong because it allows the aforementioned discovered attack. He's got to get out of check. And bye-bye, rookie. I'll eat you like a cookie. Oh, yeah. Yum, yum. Forces king h2. Now rook c8. And he's going to double his rooks on the first for checkmate. Rook takes f7. And sure enough, rook c1. And Bazán resigned here. Not much white can do. It's, according to this, mate in 13. Let's see. I'm going to give check. He takes the pawn. I give check here. I don't know how it can be inaccurate. It's now mate in 12. King e5. Knight d3 check. King takes rook. Knight takes, doesn't matter. Rook takes. He's got nothing. Let's go a4. King f5. a5. Go rook f1. a6. Go king e4. f3 check. Go king f5. f4, go king back, f5. He has nothing to do. And we just take here. Now the king has to move, and we will contain his king with ours. King has to come back. One of these two squares. Now he's contained, and it's checkmate. Okay, the numbers for this game. 94.5 accuracy for Bobby Fischer. He just keeps getting better and better. And his single game rating, 2,900.